played out in the House of Commons itself, with David Cameron, the leader of the opposition, asking questions about British jobs for British workers, Nick Clegg, the Lib Dem, also raising economic matters and protectionist dangers. Perhaps the story to come out of today's PMQs is the Prime Minister's use of the D word. He said that he wanted the G20 meeting to come as a world on... He wanted the world to produce a monetary and fiscal stimulus that will take the world out of depression. Not recession, depression. We're going to talk about the significance of the D word in just a moment, but let us hear what you had to say first, Anita, the emails.
Well, you see, many picking up on that D word, as you say, and also noticing that David Cameron didn't seem to pick up on it. Ian from Manchester says, although David Cameron didn't pick up on the word depression in answer to the first question, British jobs for British people was an easy, open goal for Cameron. Although, to be fair to him, he criticised Brown over it at the time. So Brown's charge of opportunism is wrong. Most of you, though, again this week, sick of the repetition, just watching PMQs, have wondered whether these Brown-Cameron exchanges are actually pre-recorded from last week. They seem to be saying exactly the same thing. Please, we need a new script, says Neil from Colchester. Another one here, Brown's wriggling does not impress. He is an opportunist of the first rank. His British jobs remark has backfired. It looks like what it was. Meaningless sloganising, says Mike from Cheshire. This, though, in times of extreme peril, all Cameron can do is try and score cheap political points. With a bad government and even worse opposition, what hope do we have, says Edward from Norfolk. And just, a lot of toing and froing this way, but on just a slightly different point, Sheila from Bath says, did I really see Dennis McShane wearing a sports jacket and cardinal red jumper? What on earth is Parliament coming to?
All right, Anita, thank you for that. Nick, let's look at this. It's for the first time in my life, a British Prime Minister has used the word depression. Now, it may be said to be a slip of the tongue, but so was Save the World. But it may not be a slip of the tongue, because I know, you probably do too, that behind closed doors, the D word is being used in the sense that maybe we are heading for a depression. And as information comes in from collapsing economies from as far apart as Spain and Japan, which is now in a depression, then it is being discussed that perhaps, and with increasing talk, as we had in this program, of protectionism, the D word is coming into vogue.
Language matters hugely in this, and Gordon Brown threw out it, partly because I think he saw political dangers in conceding too much too soon, partly because he was genuinely more optimistic than some commentators, and partly because he thinks it's important for a Prime Minister to build confidence, has always been behind the curve, wouldn't say that there was trouble coming, wouldn't say there was a recession. But now, unusually, he's used the D word before it's being widely used in public at least. And he's not just used it as a warning, we might head for depression. He said we need to take the world out of depression.
Suggesting we're in it.
Now, sure, there will be people in one of my producers, I think, has had the chance to look back at the tape here and says it looks like he was trying to say recession and then changed it. In the end, it's been said, it's on the record, it's not some gaffe, it's just interesting because it usually suggests when politicians use a word that it's something that's in their head. It's something they have been talking about privately. And the interesting thing now is whether he feels the need to pull back from it and Downing Street on his behalf, or do they say, no, this is a big anxiety we've got, and that's precisely why we think we need to do A, B, C and D. But it will, as you say, be picked up by others and be used to say that's a significant change.
Tessa, what's your reaction?
Well, I think it was almost certainly a slip of the tongue, and but no doubt.
He correct himself.
No, but no doubt it will make the headlines
I mean,
tomorrow.
when he said save the world, Tessa, he then corrected himself by saving the banks.
Look, I don't know what at that moment was in his mind, but I thought he had a very good day today. I thought that he got the argument across. He is brutally realistic about the scale of the downturn and the threat, and the length of time that it's going to take to get out of it.
He's been telling us for months that this economy is better placed to survive the recession, aka depression, than any other major economy. How is that brutally realistic?
But in the light, as the IMF recorded last week, in the light of leadership that he's taken, both to stabilise the banking system, policy that's been that's been adopted by other leading economies, and similarly fiscal
Why are
standards.
we better placed? That's not true anymore, is it?
I think it is. I think it does remain true, but you know,
why?
nobody. Look, I mean, what I'm not doing, what nobody would do, is to underplay the seriousness of this, and to go back to our earlier discussion, the scale of anxiety
I'm not
that's
asking
being
you.
faced by people watching at home.
I'm simply asking you to explain to our viewers how we in Britain are better placed than any other major economy to get through this recession/depression.
Well, I think one of the very specific ways has been the development over the last 10 years of a highly flexible labour market. And to go back to some of the points that Will Hutton was making earlier, I mean, the creation of the New Deal, the highly purposeful employment measures.
But unemployment's heading for 3 million.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
It was 3 million under Mrs. Thatcher.
Yeah, well, we
why aren't we
don't.
best
No,
placed?
unemployment is not yet 3 million,
But it's heading
and
for
may
that.
not. Well, it may not reach 3 million. But the question: this is the steepest and most profound downturn that we've seen, and I think that the point that you have to accept is that although it wasn't anticipated on this scale 10 years ago, what Gordon Brown as Chancellor recognised was that long-term financial stability relied on a flexible labour market, and we invested very heavily in
Which
that.
was created by Mrs. Thatcher's government.
No,
Which you then kept. Let me ask you.
Some of the legislative changes, yes, but the measures, no.
Well, let me try to get away from the body politic and get you to react to this, because I think the situation is now too severe to have sort of point scoring between Labour and Tory.